India has yet to be handed anything in terms of technology which the Americans consider precious and valuable.
India-US relationship, and I recall, I think last night when we were talking, you said something about, I really like that phrase, that India is behaving like a jilted lover. I mean, that's the, I think,
Yeah.
approximate. Why are you saying that?
Look, let's go back to the analogy. We all know guys who were dumped by their girlfriend. And what do? They start dating other women, in this case, Russia and China. But you've always got one eye out on the old girlfriend in the hope that she's going to ask you back. And anything she does, you try to interpret it way beyond the significance. So Trump wishes Modi happy birthday, and everybody's ecstatic in New Delhi until he goes and says, well, you can't buy Russian oil, and so on. And you're like, how did this happen? And that is what the dumped boyfriend doesn't understand. That, I'm sorry, this is over, this is done, it can't continue the way it does. But you keep looking for these little slivers of hope. And I don't think you should. I think you should be very pragmatic about what you can do with the Americans. And I'll just say one thing. Again, to go with the analogy of the boyfriend, everybody's jumping around with joy on this 10-year defense agreement. Let's break down what's not in the agreement. One, the Americans nowhere have said in the future, if there is an Indian war with somebody, we will not impose military sanctions or economic sanctions on India. They did that in 65, they did that in 71. After the nuclear tests of 98, they shut down all the cooperation on the Tejas program, which is why Tejas got delayed. And go ask anybody in Washington to give you that guarantee. They'll say, we don't do that. Second thing, again, is in terms of arms production, we're very gung-ho, we're going to get all this here. The Americans will tell, I've asked this of people, of arms trade experts in America, can you guarantee the Indians that a spare part made in India will not be put on a Pakistani F-16 or a Pakistani C-130? And their answer is, we don't do that. No, we've never done that. So, and there are people in this town who tell me, we don't care who it goes to. I said, but the Indian people are patriotic, they do care. And whoever's the prime minister then, when this story were to come out, he would have to resign from office. Third thing is they won't allow you, despite all this bonhomie, to put nuclear weapons on their systems. So if you were to buy a US fighter jet, you can't rewire it to have nuclear weapons. If you were to buy the Tomahawk missile, if they gave it to you, you couldn't make it dual purpose, put that on. And the last part in this is you're not going to get the technologies of transfer you so hope for. And I'll give you one very simple example. Tomorrow, the Chinese are launching the aircraft carrier Fujian, and Xi Jinping will be there to inaugurate the launch. Fujian has an electromagnetic catapult on it. Okay? India has been asking the Americans for an electromagnetic catapult for about 5-6 years now. Easily. And that conversation has gone nowhere. Okay. The people will now, I'm sure, watching this say, oh no, great progress has been made. India has yet to be handed anything in terms of technology which the Americans consider precious and valuable. Compare that with Israel, NATO, Australia, which is getting the nuclear submarines. Ask yourself where you are in the list of priorities. So, I mean, these are the 4 things which I think are very important in this relationship. And that is why I just think India needs to think more realistically about it and not hold out hopes that, oh, I left one of my old shirts in her house, so she's going to call me and that means she's interested. No, she wants your smelly shirt out of her house. So that's where the analogy lies.